Welcome to 48ers, where we talk to filmmakers about their experiences creating short films in just 48 hours. From brainstorming the story, casting, production, and post, we get a deep look behind the scenes of teams competing in the 48-hour film project. In this episode, we talk to the team of Petrichor Motion Pictures, including Sean Fury, Elijah Boughton, and Nathan Westfall. We talk about their film from the 25 Dallas project, The Eulogy. So walk me through it. You guys are at Blanc in Fort Worth. You get your prompt. What was the prompt for you guys this year?
Film to Fem and what was the other second half of that? It wasn't comedy, was it?
Well,
think
we,
it
we
was-
we initially settled on film to film because we realized that really we had like a open category. All we really needed was two strong female leads, right? And I think we had that in our back pocket with Natalie Williams and Renita. So
Yeah.
I think, when we agreed on that, we were like, we really have an open category, and these two just kind of took it.
Yeah.
So you rely on the chemistry of those two women and heavily, and they just immediately sell it from the get-go.
For sure. With Natalie, Natalie, when she's very like open, she talks to everyone she's around. So when we knew we had her to just kind of be this wild card character, we knew we needed a straight person. We knew how Renita played. She recently worked with Sean in his film, The Hard Way, that we had filmed out of the 48. And she plays this beautiful character. And I told him, I was like, do you think Renita would be interested? And he called her up, and we just kind of pitched these characters to these two ladies, and they took it and they ran with it.
Wow. So this is happening on Friday night. You called them up cold, or were they expecting your call maybe? Or wow.
Yeah. Well, Nat was actually at the drawing. I think she was just there for support.
Yeah.
But then we were right there and we're like, hey, Natalie, you want a gig?
That might be the only time I actually talked to Natalie as Natalie that entire weekend. That first initial meet in the Blanc parking lot, from then on, she was in total character. From Friday evening or from Saturday morning to Sunday, she was her character in the Eulogy.
And so Natalie was in Dumbbells as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
She was,
Right.
yeah.
Where did you find her? What's the connection? She's obviously got a huge amount of life in her. Is she kind of your cornerstone? You like to build films around her?
I feel like she really just fits in well with whatever is going on. We didn't necessarily write for Nat, but she does such a good job, and she brings such a crazy energy. So I guess maybe we do write for her, and I just have never thought about it like that.
Well, like the scream at the when the title scream comes on, and she kind of gets that hold frame when she's screaming. I'm like, that's a moment that you had to have somebody in mind when you were writing it. Like there's people who could pull that off well, and people who can sell it, and people who maybe it wouldn't be up their alley. So
Well, actually, I was kind of nervous while we were writing this. I told Sean, and we were writing it, I was like, I don't know if I want these ladies to say these things. And Sean was like, nah, man, let's go with it, And as a director, that opening scene, I would actually have to give credit to Sean, because that opening scene, those ladies improvise.
Really?
So that when the camera is in black, like it's cut to black, that is all improvised. Our sound man just let it roll. And Sean in the editing bay was like, hey, I found this audio clip. I think it'll be really great as an opener.
Oh, so that wasn't scripted. That was
No.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. Okay, so let's not get ahead. So talk to me about the scripting, right? So you guys, you've got two strong female leads. You've got a wide open playing field here, because even though you got film to femme, which I will go on record as saying is the shittiest draw that you can get in this. I think it's a horrible genre, especially when the composition of we drew that last year, and I was like, I can't ask a bunch of 20-year-old guys to write for a 40, 50-year-old woman. It's just, there's not, you try to do the best you can with what you got. And that is such a curveball for a genre. What did you do next?
I was really worried about that myself, writing for Film to Femme, but I think we got in the room and we kind of defined it amongst ourselves as a strong female lead. And that's it. That's all we said about it.
Our biggest concern was genre from that point. Like we knew that we needed strong female leads. And I think that we were kind of initially intimidated by we couldn't decide which topic or which genre we wanted to lean into. And I think we just kind of decided we can lean into any which one we want, because as long as we have that baseline covered, I think were good.
I've never heard anybody get criticized for being off genre, though, right? I
No.
mean, we all want to play the game and do the right thing, but it's I don't feel like there's a hard line you have to cross in terms of really embodying that genre. So how did you decide on the story direction? It feels like there's some very tender threads around there in grief, and it felt like it was really close to somebody, even though there were some comedic elements to it and they were playing with it in a fun way. Where does the story itself come from?
I would like to say that it was a really tender writing process,
Yeah.
but it was not.
No.
It was not.
Well, I think originally, I would want to credit Elijah with the direction we ended up going in terms of story, because I think he was the one that initially proposed the idea of Awake. And I think once we got that idea, I think we kind of knew that we were going to use Natalie and Rita in some form of fashion. And then I think Funeral Crashing was thrown in there, and then it just kind of spitballed from there, and really just like it turned into something that was very raunchy very quickly.
Yeah.
Because you got to have an explanation for why all these people are all feeling the way they're feeling, right? I mean, you definitely get that payoff at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just evolved. I think we just went from like one obscene thing to the next. And really, Sean and I think just had the most fun just trying to see who could outdo each other.
A little one upping in the writer's room.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys worked together writing before?
No, this is the first
No.
time.
Okay. How did you guys meet? Why did you? Let's put a pin in that. I want to come back to that later. So tell me about the writing process, right? What time is it by the time you guys are like, okay, it's going to be Awake. We've got these two female leads. What time is it in the evening at that point? I mean, how did you use your time in that first day?
It was probably, I don't know, 9:00 maybe by the time we had that laid out.
It's
Yeah.
pretty early.
So everything kind of starts at 7:00.
Mhm.
And so we met at my house in Fort Worth, and we had the premise kind of nailed down fairly early as far as 48 goes. And then it just
Yes.
kind of became, like Nathan said, like one-upping each other and daring ourselves to put this or that in the script. And can we do that? Should we do that? I don't know if we should do
Mhm.
that.
But yeah,
That was the majority of the time.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think for the kind of the emotional thread of the story, we had settled on it being a funeral. So I think that there needed to be a heavy emotional core to it. And our actor Lee, he really just brought it on the day. And what comes off on the page is something very silly but heartfelt. He really sold it, and like he squeezed every dramatic ounce of it that he could and really sold it. Like, I was behind the camera just standing next to Elijah, and I was getting teary, like watching him perform this. And I'm like, I shouldn't be getting this like emotional about this. Like what he's saying is nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we pitch something to Lee, I'm like, there's no way he's going to do this.
He
There's no
doesn't.
way he's going to want to do this.
Now, do you work with him often?
Yeah.
Was he in Dumbbells?
He was.
He was in Dumbbells.
That's right. He was one of the two guys, the meatheads that got mugged, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the location, actually, that's his clinic.
That's his gym.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I'll come back to that as well, because I'm always sort of curious, like how people put their teams together. How late into the night do you guys end up writing? Do you use some improv and you let these actors? And I think that's kind of one of the beautiful parts of doing a 48 is there's only so much you can really think out, and you've got to have people who can sort of take the ball and run with it and do something creative and cool with it. You did some improv, but you've also did some writing. What happened in that first night, and when did you tie things up and go to bed and get ready for the morning?
I want to say it was probably around midnight or so that we wrapped up. Normally, we've had writing sessions for 48 that go till 2 or 3 in the morning, which I hate.
Yeah.
So we were pretty good about wrapping it up around, I want to say it was around midnight.
Yeah, I think it was pretty early, and I remember talking about it at the time, just being surprised at how early it actually was.
That's good. That feels good.
Yeah.
And then, so you got together first thing in the morning, right? So what's your call? How did you use your shoot day on Saturday?
Well, so on Friday night, we sent out the script, and we always say, read it once, go to bed, get some good sleep, and then come in the morning and start learning your lines. So I think call time was 7 a.m., if I recall.
Yep.
Just getting set up, and actors are going over their lines with each other.
And you're one location, I think, in that, right? Aren't you? You are in both of those. You guys are smart that way. Yeah.
And so we started, and Elijah, I should let you talk about it because I was cooped up in edit.
Yeah. We We shot actually at Sean's house on location at his house. Everyone met there. Everybody, like you said, everybody read it once. We probably do like one read through, maybe two, while we were getting everybody in costume, everybody set up, the house decorated, things like that. We read through the scripts. I got to sit down with the actors and give them some of my notes. And I will say that morning, I stressed on spending time with the ladies before we hit record, and I wanted to spend time with Lee before we hit record. And I will say I got with both of these guys beforehand and told them, is it okay if I were to direct it, the ladies as a comedy and direct Lee as a drama? And we're gonna like mesh these two movies together.
Yeah.
That's how I read it. Like Nathan said, there's heart in it somewhere, and there's a little kid that lost his dad in a sense, right? And there's these two terrible old ladies that come in and are like, it's about us. So, but yeah, that's when I read their scripts and we got started. And like he said, like Nat, you told her, hey, and she just turned into that character and got in the front seat and started going.
Fantastic. So you guys started at 7 o'clock. How many? I'm trying to think. How many different scenes were there? You don't want you to count them all, but like there were some pretty distinct sets there where they're in the car, they're walking in the door, they've got a few settings inside the party, the kind of the final scene where there's a couple different like angles in that shot as that kind of unfolds. How long during the day? How long did you spend in each of those settings? And did you run through lines, or was it more of kind of an improvisation kind of thing?
I will say with Glenn Maxwell behind the camera, he drove in from Austin to help us.
Nice.
While they were writing, and I was just there, Glenn would call in to me and ask for updates. And while I would give him updates of where they were, he was already pitching ideas. I was already thinking of films that we've seen of funerals. And so he's already thinking of how we're going to set the shots up and go. And like you said, there's a lot of improvisation. I always ask the writers before, I direct, is there scenes that we can, improvise? Like, I will say with dumbbells, a lot of dumbbells is improvised because our Blaze character, Ian Kramer, he can't remember lines. He's just
Was that the last guy, the robber, the thief,
the
bad guy?
blonde guy that's all strong and
Yeah. Okay, that guy.
So Blaze, that character, just a childhood friend of mine. I just told him, be yourself. I know you're not going to remember anything. Just please be yourself. And Sean was totally okay with it. So we do like to let our actors, because they know more about the characters than we do. Even though it's a small amount of time, they read it and they build that character. So they know those characters before we even fully know them. So improving on our set it's great. Like we allow it.
That's good. The how long did you guys shoot into the day on Saturday?
Till 5.
5 p.m. That's not bad. And so, Sean, you were working on the edit side. Talk to me about DIT, right? So you're shooting. You've got an editing person. How are you getting files to the person who's editing them, and then how does that transfer of information from set to the editing bay work for you guys?
For the Eulogy, it was super easy because I was the editor editing in my office at home where we were shooting. So it's pretty much like the ideal setup.
Mm-hmm. And they're shooting there already, so it's just down the hall, right?
Right. And so I think we dumped SD cards maybe a couple times, and then I just closed myself up in the office and worked while they shot. I know for the edit, I like to take some time because I'm anal about it, but indexing all the footage and labeling everything is very important to me, to make sure it goes smoothly and all that good stuff. And so that was a good portion of the edit time.
Just kind of setting the table. That's every editor I know, frankly.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's good. Because I don't edit ever outside of 48.
Well, it could have fooled me. I mean, you seem to know your way around pretty well. That's a tough. I mean, you got it across the plate that many times. You must be doing enough to get it done.
Well, like I said, we had a really simple setup, and I think I was done. We had several hours to spare this year with the deadline.
Okay.
It was a smooth edit.
Nice. So how far were you into it on Saturday night when they finished up editing? And you probably continued that obviously into the evening on Saturday.
I don't remember specifically. I was well into it because Sunday didn't take very long.
I can tell you it was like 12:30.
Yeah, I was going to say, we submitted pretty early on Sunday. So
yeah, we went to bed like 12:30 a.m. like after we filmed, and that was it. And Sean got up early the next morning. Normally I crash at Sean's house while we do these.
Yeah.
He got up the next morning and he got in there and knocked it out.
Nice.
Remember, I made my coffee, put on Creature from the Black Lagoon and just got
Very good.
to
Very
it.
nice.
You can
Got to
edit
it.
with other video on in the background?
Yeah.
How do you
Well,
I can't.
That's
I don't know
impressive.
if I should, but I do.
If it works for you, man. I mean, do what you got to do. But I any conflicting media in there, it just starts to sort of throw me off. But
No,
I
that noise is really good.
that's good. That's good. So you've edited all of these short films that you've written?
Mm, all but one of them. All but one. Yeah,
Nice. Now tell me about your DP. What was he shooting with?
Elijah.
What kind of camera did he have?
Don't know what Glenn was shooting with. I was not prepared for that question.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
We
I'll
told
skip
Glenn,
all the focal length questions.
well,
Yeah, good.
honestly, like I said, I'll give it to Glenn Maxwell. If we tell him this is what we're doing, he will imagine it in his head and he will pack whatever he knows and what he thinks that we need, and he will come and film it to pristine precision. Like he knows exactly his way around the camera. So I might not know the exact camera, but anytime I pitch something to him or Sean pitches something to him, we feel comfortable with whatever he brings because he's going to deliver every time.
It's great. Talk to me a little bit about the writing, because Sean, I know that you do a bit of writing on the side, and I enjoyed the eulogy a lot. I went back and rewatched Dumbbells, and I have a theory that you can make any genre into a mockumentary.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I would be really hard pressed to figure out that, and I thought it was a really well executed mockumentary because you use those and it's a really simple genre to pull off technically, right? Because you've got these interview settings and stuff. But I went back and rewatched it last night, and I'm like, this film is like 6-ish minutes long, and you've got 3 sets of arcs and characters that you introduce all independently that all kind of find a conclusion at the end. And I'm like, that is not something that's really easy to accomplish in 6 minutes, even though a lot of it's even improv as well. And so there's some looseness in the dialogue as well. But it's a very shrewdly, efficiently layered short film that doesn't seem like it should be, but it really, really is. Like, tell me a little bit about your writing style and your process. Like, how do you? It's and the eulogy was the same way, where it was kind of this slice of life. You get these little glimpses of these characters, you get a sense of their background, but they're never really addressing it super directly, and then it all kind of collides at the end, and it makes sense. How do you work? Tell me about your thing.
For the eulogy, I would say working with Nathan was a huge plus. Nathan was an amazing asset on the eulogy as far as having a through line and being true to the core of the story while still allowing us to get out on kind of the limbs that we went on, the crazy limbs. For Dumbbells, I was lucky enough to write for people that I knew and for characters that I knew. And so we knew exactly what we wanted each character to say by the end. It was really, I think you're giving us too much credit because it was very easy to do for Dumbbells.
Well, it's easy to do. I kind of like having these conversations because everybody's got a really strong streak. They've got a way that they kind of run into it. And there's usually somebody who's kind of got their hands wrapped around one aspect of what needs to happen. And as I look through these, and I'm always kind of a structure guy, and I reject your rejection of my compliment. So I think that I think that they're really well structured and well layered, and there's not a wasted character, there's not a wasted moment. And to do something that efficiently in 6 minutes, I think is something that's something. That's absolutely something to be proud of.
Well, thank you very much.
Talk to me a little bit about your team, right? Because you've done this over a number of years, which I really admire. I'm like, I've got a similar team that kind of grows and morphs, and we kind of roll in different people, and we kind of try to perfect our process a little bit. And I kind of see some of the same characters and themes and some of the same people. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The 48ers. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And join us next week as we continue our conversation with Petrichor Motion Pictures.